Hello, my name is Anita. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a beaded ring using Miyuki Delica beads, and these are size 11/0 Delicas, and you're going to need 3 different colors. This particular bead is called the Fab Ring Band, and it's from a pattern that I have in a book that I purchased called Beadwork Creates Beaded Rings, and the author of this particular design, her name is Sharon Bateman. I'll have links in the description box below that will apply to all the products, including the book where I got this particular pattern from. And if you click more below the video, you're going to get all the details, including a link to my website, and I'll have several different color versions of this ring for sale. Super easy to make, and it's made using Tubular Peyote stitch. So let's go over the materials first of all. You're going to need a size 12 beading needle, and I like the John James brand. And I've got 3 different colors here of my Miyuki Delica beads. This first color is DB0658. It's a turquoise green. It's a dyed opaque turquoise green. You only need about 1 gram of each of these colors. This next color here is in a yellow. It's opaque canary, and that's a DB1132, V as in Victor for that one. And then this last color here, it's a lined opal, very pretty shade of white, and that color code is DB0221, V as in Victor. You're going to need 6-pound Fireline, about 2 yards of that. And I also have a ring band measuring for ring size. So this is convenient when you're counting your number of beads to see approximately where your size is going to go. So using a ring mandrel, this is another way to check your size or put the number of beads you need to go around a particular size that you're aiming for. And that's another way to do it. And I also like to use this as well. So let me show you real quick a couple of samples that I did on this particular ring pattern. Here's one I did with 3 different shades. I used the galvanized, it's like a rose gold for the inside, and then I used a white and then a lavender color for the center. And then I tried going a little more contrast, and I did this one with a light lavender for the inside of the band, kind of a metallic royal blue, and then galvanized silver for the little 2 bead accents here in the middle. What we're doing today is going to look a little bit like this. Now that was my practice piece. Came out a little wonky, but that's the general same pattern. The tricky part on this is doing the zip up, because we're doing a peyote tubular stitch, so that will be the challenging part. So let me clear my area and we will get started. All right, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to thread your needle with 2 yards of your Fireline, and I'm using crystal today. And you're going to string on approximately 40 of your Delicas in color A, which is my turquoise. Now I've got 44 of my Delicas, and I'm measuring according to this. It's going to be anywhere between a 5 and a 6 for a ring. If you need it bigger, you want to add in increments of 2 because you want an even number of your Delica beads. So from here we're going to go back through the first bead where we started, right there, and bring this into a circle. And you want to leave half of the length of your working thread. So I've got 2 yards here, and I basically am putting the beads about halfway down on my Fireline here. So I'm coming out of this bead here. I'm going to go through all of the beads again. So advance your needle through each Delica. So we're going to reinforce this. Just hold on to your tail. If it gets loose, just pull on your tail thread. And then we're going to just continue bringing our needle through the Delicas until we get to the other side. Alright, so I've come through the last section here of these beads. I'm coming out where the tail thread is. I'm pulling this together. And I'm going to go through these one more time until I'm coming out of the tail thread. So go ahead and repeat that step one more time, and then I'll show you what's next. Alright, so I've completed going around the circle one more time, and I've got my tail thread and working thread right next to each other. So what I'm going to do here is a half hitch knot. So you're going to take your tail thread, bring that over your working thread and through the loop, and you're going to pull that to a close. You don't want it too tight, just enough to where it's going to keep this somewhat secure, about like that. So that's what you should have. So from here I'm going to advance my working thread, and we're going to leave the tail thread here for now, and we'll be using that on the second half of this ring. So you're going to come down just a few beads. I'm going to go through the next 4 beads to get away from the knot. So now we're going to start our peyote stitch. So we strung on originally 44 of our delicas to start this. So we're only going to need 22 of our delicas for the next round of peyote stitch. So what I did to make it easier and less confusing, because some beginners may have trouble determining where you step up, I've counted half of the amount of beads, which I have 22 here, and we're going to do 1 round of peyote stitch. So you're going to pick up another delica the same color. I'm exiting this delica here, and we're going to go skip through this one, go through the following delica right there. Pull that together. And you want that to stack right next to the bead that you passed. So now we're going to pick up another delica, exiting right here. We're going to skip this delica and go in through the next one. Right there. So you want to pull so that your tension is making these stack correctly. You don't want to pull too tight, just keep it a relaxed tension. So you're going to pick up your next delica, skipping this bead, going into the next delica. Just like that. And you're going to do this all the way around. All right, here's what we have so far coming down to the end. I've got 1 more delica to pick up. I'm exiting this delica here. I'm going to skip the next one and go into this last delica, and we're also going to step up on the diagonal into the next bead in line where we started. That's where you want to go through. So this is peyote stitch, and this is our first round. So we're going to repeat this with 2 more rows of peyote stitch. So we did our base row of 44, then we did 1 row of peyote stitch, and we're going to do 2 more rows of peyote stitch with 21 delicas around. All right, so I've counted out 21 delicas, and we're doing the same color. So we're going to pick up where we stepped up. This is where we left off. We're exiting this delica here that's sticking out. So we're going to skip the space and go into the next delica that's sticking out. And that's going to place that right in between. So you're going to pick up another delica, exiting here, skipping this space, and going into the next delica that's sticking out. Do that again. And you're going to do that all the way around. Now, as you're doing this, you don't want to pull so tight that you're pulling this up. Just let it be relaxed and have enough tension just to fill in your bead. And you don't want to pull too tight, just let it be a relaxed tension. So go ahead and continue, and I'll meet you when we get to the end to step up. I'm coming to the last space where I need to add a delica. I've picked up my delica. I'm exiting this delica here, skipping the space, going into this next delica and the one on the diagonal to step up. That completes our second round of peyote stitch. So we're going to do one more row of peyote stitch going around. So continue picking up your delica, exiting here, skipping the next one, and going into the next delica that's sticking out. So just take your time with this. You're going to just continue this for one more round of peyote, and then I will meet you back and show you how to step up. I'm coming to my last delica, exiting this bead here, skipping the space, going into this delica and the one on the diagonal where we started our row. That's what you should have so far, and that's 3 rows of peyote after your base row. So you've got your base row and then 3 peyote stitches using the same color A. And then we're going to go on to our next step. All right, for our next step, we are going to be adding color A and color B. Now, we're exiting this delica right here where we stepped up, and I'm going to turn this sideways so that you can see where the gaps are. So I'm holding it like this, and we're going to start by adding color A after this delica here. So you're skipping the space, going into the next delica. So I'm picking up color A, going through this next bead here. Now we're going to increase, and we're going to add 2 delicas in the color B. So pick up 2 color B, exiting this delica, skipping 1 delica, going into the next one. And we're going to squeeze those 2 delicas into that space like that. Pick up another delica, color A, skipping the space, going into the next delica that's sticking out. Now we're going to pick up 2 delicas in color B. Skip the space, go into the next delica. Pick up color A, 1 delica, skip the space, go into the next delica. Pick up 2 delicas in color B, exiting here, skip the space, go into the next delica that's sticking out. And you're going to repeat this process all the way around. I'm coming to the last 2 delicas, color B, exiting this delica, skipping the space, going into the next delica, and on the delica in the diagonal to step up. And that's what you should have so far. So now we're going to go on to the next step. For our next step, we're only going to be using color B, and we're only picking up one delica in color B. So right now our thread is exiting this delica here. We're skipping the space, and we're going in through the next two delicas in yellow. And that's going to place that delica before the two that we added here. So we're exiting this second delica, picking up another delica, color B, skipping the space, going into the delica that's sticking out. Okay, so you see what it did. It's got delicas sticking out on each side of where you placed the two delicas together. So now we're going to pick up another delica, color B, exiting here, skipping this space, going into the next two delicas. Pick up another color B, exiting the two delicas, skipping the space, going into the next single delica. And we'll do that one more time. Pick up a delica, color B, skipping the space, going into the two delicas, pick up another color B, skipping the space, going into the next single delica. So you're going to continue repeating this step until we get to the end. I'm coming to my last delica, color B, exiting the two delicas here, skipping the space, going into the next delica, the last one that was sticking up, and then we're going to go on the diagonal where we started the new row. And that's what you should have so far. All right, so here's where we are so far. Your thread should be exiting one of the beads that's sticking out before the two delicas that we increased. So from here, we're going to be going the other direction, or not the other direction, but we're going to be adding two of color C, which is the white. So we're going to increase here, picking up two of our color C. We're exiting this color B in yellow, skipping the two delicas, you're skipping the space and going into this next delica sticking out. And that's going to place the two whites right next to the two yellows, like that. So we're exiting the color B right here. We're going to pick up another color B, skipping the space, going into the next delica sticking out. So we're exiting here before the two beads. We're going to pick up two in white, color C. We're exiting this bead here, skipping the space of two beads, going into the next delica that's sticking out. And that should be lining up with your current two yellow beads here. So we're exiting color B. We're going to pick up another color B, skipping the space or turquoise and going into the next single delica, color B. Now we're going to pick up two in color C, exiting this delica, skipping the space, going into the next single delica. And you're going to repeat that all the way around. I'm coming near the end here, exiting this delica here. I have a big space coming up, so I'm picking up two of color C, going into the next delica that's sticking out. Picking up my last color B, skipping the space or turquoise, going into the next color B, and I'm going to step up into the 2 where we started our row. So that is the end of the row, and what we're going to do from here is we're going to end this working thread, and we're going to go pick up using the tail thread for the other half of our ring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over so that I can see what I'm doing, and I'm just going to weave this tail thread in by going through this next bead in line, and I'm going to come down to the next turquoise. Now I'm going to go up through the bead on the left and the one above it, like that, and I'm just going to come around to anchor this through these next 2 beads. I'm not going to do any knots, I'm just going to do anchoring by coming back through the beads. I'm going to come up a couple of stitches here. Now I'm going to come through these next 2 beads and then back down. So you can weave your thread whatever direction you choose, just so long as you have it secured. And I'm going to cut this working thread off. So this is what it should look like so far. It's kind of curving a little bit. And now we're going to thread our tail thread onto a needle, and then we'll go on to the next step. All right, so what we're going to do now is your tail thread should be exiting a bead that's sticking out on the original row. Now we're going to start by picking up one color A, which is the turquoise, and 2 of our color B, which is the yellow. So you want to make sure that you have it lined up so that your 2 yellows that you're adding are in line with these beads that we added. So right now I'm exiting this right here, this delica here. I've got a space, and notice there's just, if you go all the way across, you've got this 1 bead sticking out. So we just want to add 1 color A right here. So we're going to add 1 color A, and then our next step is going to be 2 color Bs. So I've got my 2 color Bs, and those you want to make sure they line up with these 2 here. So we're exiting, skipping the space, going into the next delica that's sticking out. Now we're going to pull this, and you want those beads to pop into that space. And they might do a little bit of an angle thing like this, but that's okay, as long as they are in the same area where these 2 beads are, because we are going to connect these to the other side. All right, so we're going to do that again. Pick up 1 color A, skipping the space, going into the next delica that's sticking out. Pop that into place. Now you're going to pick up 2 color B. Make sure that you're in line, skipping the space, going into the next delica that's sticking out. And those are going to pop into place like that. Just do the best you can. They're going to kind of bunch up like that, but that's because it's a smaller inner row here, they're going to look kind of funny, but that's just the way it goes. So we're going to continue the pattern, pick up a single color A, skipping the space, going into the next delica that's sticking out. Pop that into place like that. Now we're going to pick up 2 of our yellow, skipping the space, going into the next delica sticking out. Pop those into place and just do the best you can to get them to seat in that space. And if they look kind of wonky, that's okay. We're going to be working with this row when we connect it. So we'll do that one more time. Pick up color A, turquoise, skip the space, go through the next delica sticking out, and it's going to start to get tight. So just be patient and take your time as you're doing this. Now I'm going to pick up 2 of the yellow, skipping the space, going into the next delica that's sticking out. Pull and pop those in the best way you can. So continue with those 2 steps until we get to the end of the row. I'm coming to my last 2 color Bs, exiting this delica here, skipping the space, going into the next delica sticking up, and the one on the diagonal where we started this row. So we're going through this delica and the one on the diagonal like that to complete this row. And that's how it should look. They're kind of sticking up a little bit, but that's where you should be. And then we're going to go on to one more step to go. For this last row, we're going to be working strictly with our color B, our canary yellow. And it's hard to see, but we're exiting this turquoise delica here. There is a space, and then we have our 2 delicas that we added in yellow. So from here on out, we're picking up 1 color B. We're exiting this delica here. And we're going to go through the 2 delicas in yellow. And because they're kind of at an angle, you want to be able to pull them together or go through 1 bead at a time. And I'm losing focus on my camera. So let's see if we can fix that. There we go. Okay, so you should be going through these 2 beads right here. So pull that through. And you want that delica to pop in before those 2 that you added. Now we're going to pick up another delica in yellow. Skipping the 2 delicas, we're going to go into the next bead sticking out, which is the turquoise. Right there. Pull that, and you have to kind of pull on it kind of tight to get the bead to pop in place, and you'll feel it pop in place. So they're going to kind of bunch up a little bit, but that's what it should look like. All right, so we're going to pick up another yellow. We're exiting the turquoise bead. We're going to go in through the next 2 yellow beads, and we're going to go through the best way you can go through both of them. If you can't, if the angle's too sharp, you can go through 1 bead at a time. So I'm going through these 2 yellows, and I'm going to pull that bead I added right into place. Like that. Pick up another yellow. Exiting the 2 yellow beads, going in through the next turquoise bead. Pull that into place, and if it gets caught, just try to straighten it out. And there it's kind of bunched up, but that's where it should be. That's what it looks like. So we're going to do that one more time, and then I'll send you on your way. So pick up another yellow, exiting the turquoise. We're going to go through the next 2 yellows. Right there. Pop that one into place. we're exiting the 2 yellows, picking up another yellow, going in through the turquoise bead. And you're going to do that all the way around, and then I'll meet you back. I'm coming to my last yellow bead to add, exiting the 2 11-ohs, or 2 delicas that are together here, skipping this turquoise bead, going in through this delica here, and stepping up through these next 2 delicas. So that's what it looks like. It's kind of puckered, and it's gathering here and kind of curling slightly, so that's what it should look like. So now we're going to be sewing the edges of these together to close up our circular peyote stitch. Okay, right now my thread is exiting this bead right here. I'm going to advance through the next yellow bead at the end of those 4 right there. So I'm going to be connecting, you're zipping this up, and we're going to connect from each bead that's sticking out. So I'm exiting right here, and on my left side this bead is sticking out, so I'm going to go through that one next. It's kind of hard to see, but just kind of pinch it together. Now I'm going to come over to the right and go through this next bead that's sticking out, which is the yellow one. Now I'm going to go through the 2 white beads that are sticking up, and you're zipping this up. So pull that together. Now we're going to come over to the right side, and we're going to come through this yellow bead that's sticking out, and then through the left side we're going to go through the bead that's sticking out here. And as you're going from left side to right side, you're going to be pulling this together, and it's going to start to look like a band. So I'm going to continue, go through this next bead that's sticking out on the right. Now I'm going to go through the 2 white beads sticking out on the left. Pull that together. Go through the bead sticking out on the right, the yellow. Then the 1 bead sticking out on the left, yellow. Then I've got another bead sticking out on the right, yellow. It's kind of hard to see. Just take your time as you're doing this. Pull that together, and now I'm going to go through the 2 white beads here on the left. Pull that together, and as you notice, it's starting to form a band. So I'm going to go through the yellow single on the right, then the yellow single on the left, and if it gets caught, just use your needle to pull that out and pull that nice and snug, and continue with your stitch. So that's what it should look like. It's going to start to wrap around like that. So continue doing that step until you get all the way around. So I'm coming to the end where I started doing my connection or zipping up. So once you've reached that point where you notice everything's all closed in, you're going to just weave your thread through a few more stitches to reinforce, so I'm just going to go back through like when I started to tighten that up and continue bringing your thread through a few more beads. And it's at this point it's not necessary to do a half hitch knot because this is a really tight weave. So just go through a few more beads past where you started doing your connection point and it should be fine. So I'm just going to continue here, just retracing my steps. And this is a bit of a challenge of a pattern for beginners. So take your time, and I'll tell you, as I was learning this, I redid this ring like 3 times before I finally figured out how to zip it up, because that's the hardest part, is actually making the connection. And the secret to this is that you want to make sure that you're connecting it to where the beads match up. So it should be a bead sticking out, sewing from one bead sticking out to the next one. So you're going from right to left, and you're doing that all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and just go through a few beads here. I'm pretty much done, and I'm going to clip this off right here. And let me clear my area, and we will admire our work. All right, so here we are. We finally finished it. And as you can see the pattern nicely. It's got a nice, neat zip up for circular peyote, and this is a challenging pattern, let me tell you, because this was the first one I did, trying to practice to do this, and it was quite sloppy compared to this one. Anyway, the theme here is, or the motto is, when you fail, try again. It'll eventually look really pretty like this. So as you can see, I did these other color combinations. I'll show you these. And this was another kind of a summery spring color. This one that we worked on today ended up being about a 6.5 inch, I believe. Let's see what it says here. Yeah, 6.5. And these tend to run small, so if you need to wear a 7, and this is a 6.5, so it just barely fits on my size 5 finger. So you'll want to make it bigger than what you're actually measuring your finger, because I've found that this particular pattern tends to run small on the size. Even though it says 6.5, it's actually really a 6 or 5.5. So you'll have to experiment with this a little bit and to get the sizing down to where you need. So this concludes today's tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you for joining me today. I'll have links in the description box below with all the products used in today's tutorial. I do have a website where I sell my own jewelry. You'll see that link, and these rings will be up for sale if you're interested. Okay, so if you're not a subscriber, I hope you do subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're notified when I upload new videos. And there's a bonus to being a subscriber, especially if you're in the USA. I'm going to have a giveaway when I hit 1,000 subscribers if I haven't done that yet. So keep watching, and there will be an announcement posted in a tutorial for an upcoming giveaway once I hit 1,000 subscribers. Okay, so I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I want to thank all of you that have subscribed, liked, and commented. I really do appreciate you coming back to watch, and please continue to come back. All right, everybody, happy beading. I'll see you next time.